All right, welcome to another deep dive. You know how this works. You send us the sources and we dive deep.
That's right, into the heart of the matter.
And today, we're looking at something really interesting. A college English course, and here's the twist, it's not your typical lectures and textbooks.
Not even close.
Think YouTube, mobile apps, all the things students are probably already doing anyway.
Harnessing that, eh? Sounds
Yeah.
clever.
We've got feedback from 3 semesters of this course, 1092, 1111, and 1112, all sent in by you, the listeners.
A treasure trove of insights, that's for sure.
So the big question, is this the future of language learning or just, a recipe for procrastination? Only one way to find out.
Let's dive in. What's the initial impression? Were students on board with this whole new approach, or were they missing their textbooks?
Yeah, first reactions are always key, right?
Yeah, absolutely sets the tone. Well, get ready for this. The feedback is overwhelmingly positive.
No way, really. I'd have thought there'd be at least some resistance to such a big change.
You'd think so, but students across all 3 semesters are praising the structure, the impact it had on their English. But here's the kicker. A lot of the enthusiasm is coming from students who aren't English majors.
Now that's interesting. I would figure that English majors would be all over this.
Yeah.
Why do you think non-majors were so positive?
They talk about how valuable it was for maintaining and even improving their English skills.
Yeah.
Makes sense when you think about it.
Yeah.
You get caught up in your major, all the specific jargon and concepts.
Yeah, easy for language skills to take a backseat. Out of sight, out of mind, as they say.
Precisely. One student from semester 1092 even said they were skeptical at first, but ended up loving it. Claimed their vocab and fluency improved more in this course than any other English class they'd taken.
Wow, high praise indeed. So they're engaged and seeing results. But one thing that keeps popping up in this feedback is the idea of habit formation, making practice a daily routine. Was that just a coincidence or built into the course somehow?
Oh, it's definitely intentional. Think about it. The course involves daily vocab app exercises, regular engagement with English content online. It's built in.
It's like that one student who mentioned waking up in a panic because they forgot their daily assignment. I've been there, that, oh no, my homework feeling.
Totally relatable. And it actually ties into the science of how habits form. Consistent, spaced practice, like they had in this course, it leads to better retention than cramming.
So it's not just about intensity, it's about consistency. Clever. But let's get to the good stuff, the content itself. It wasn't all grammar drills and textbook exercises, right?
Absolutely not. We're talking YouTube videos, TED Talks, documentaries, even cartoons. All sorts of authentic English content.
Hold on, cartoons. Now you've got my attention. What kind of cartoons are we talking about here?
Well, one student in semester 1112 raved about this cartoon series on anatomy and physiology, said it helped them grasp some pretty complex scientific concepts.
See, that's what I'm talking about. You learn, you're entertained, it's a win-win, and it solves that whole textbook English problem, the formal stuff that nobody actually uses in real life.
Exactly. This way, students are exposed to the natural flow of English. And alongside the cartoons, we see mentions of a website called Best Banana English. Students used it to access and track their video watching.
Best Banana English. Okay, that's a name that'll stick with me. What made this website stand out?
It seems the key was user-friendliness. Students loved having a built-in dictionary. No more tab switching to look up words.
Ah, smart. Keeps you in the flow. I can imagine how frustrating it'd be to constantly interrupt your watching to search for definitions.
Right. And one student even commented on how the website kept track of their progress, so they could pick up right where they left off. No more rewinding, trying to remember where they were.
Nice. Sounds like they put a lot of thought into the student experience of this course. But speaking of which, there's one more element that pops up constantly, this not stupid vocabulary app. Everyone seems to have an opinion about it. What's the deal with this app?
Not Stupid is where students did their daily vocabulary practice. What seems to stand out is the personalization. Think personalized word lists, spaced repetition features for better learning, and even audio pronunciation.
Packed with features then. Did students find it helpful, or was it all hype?
They loved it. Many said their vocabulary grew significantly. Some even called it addictive, in a good way, of course.
That's what you want to hear. It sounds like it's tapping into the power of personalized learning. But there were some mentions of technical issues, weren't there? Was that a widespread problem?
There were a few recurring complaints, especially in the semester 1111 feedback. Glitches, slow loading times, the usual tech hiccups.
Ugh, the joys of technology. Always a work in progress, eh? Hopefully those were sorted out later on. But now, onto a part of the course that generated some truly diverse opinions. English Corner.
Ah, yes, English Corner. This was optional, in person, where students could practice their speaking skills, sort of a casual setting.
So putting all that YouTube watching and app practice to the test, did they find it helpful or just another thing crammed into their busy schedules?
Mixed bag, really. Some loved it, said it boosted their confidence, improved their fluency. One even made some new friends there.
That's always a bonus, turning learning into a social thing. What about the negative feedback? Anything in particular that stood out?
Well, one student from semester 11-12 mentioned the schedule was a bit unpredictable, making it hard to plan around.
Yeah, spontaneity is fun, but not always practical when you're juggling a million things. So, we've got positive feedback on the structure, the variety of content, the tech, but what were the teaching ideas behind this success? Did students offer any insight on that?
That's a great question, and one we will get to after a short break. We will see if this unconventional course can really deliver the goods when it comes to actually learning the language.
And we're back for part 2 of our deep dive. Last time, we were getting into this really unique English course, using all sorts of unconventional methods like YouTube and mobile apps.
A far cry from the traditional textbook and lecture format.
Right. And the feedback was surprisingly positive, especially from those who weren't even English majors. But did it actually help them learn the language? That's the million-dollar question.
That's what we're here to find out, isn't it? And based on what students are saying, it seems like this course really did deliver. Across all 3 semesters, they're reporting some pretty significant improvements in their vocabulary, their listening skills, even their overall confidence when using English.
That's encouraging. But how are they measuring this improvement? Is it just a feeling, or were there some actual assessments involved?
That's a good point. The feedback doesn't get into the nitty-gritty of specific tests or anything, but a lot of students directly link their progress to the activities in the course.
Makes sense. They're doing the work, seeing the results, connecting the dots.
Exactly. For example, one student from semester 1092 mentioned being able to understand native speakers much more easily after finishing the course. They specifically said it was because of all the authentic English content they were exposed to.
So it's not just about passing a test, it's about actually feeling comfortable using the language in real life situations. That's
Right.
the goal, right?
Absolutely. There's this one comment from a student in semester 11-12. I think it really captures what this course was all about. They said, and I'm paraphrasing here, that it helped them see English differently, not just as a subject to study, but as a tool to learn about the world.
Wow, that's powerful. It's like they've moved beyond the mechanics of the language and embraced its potential. Speaking of tools, we were talking about that Not Stupid vocabulary app before the break. Did students feel like it actually helped them, expand their word bank?
Oh yeah, they were really into it. Lots of praise for the personalized approach, especially that spaced repetition feature.
Right, right. Reviewing words at different intervals to help you remember them better.
Exactly. And it seems the app did all that spacing automatically. Pretty clever, if you ask me. Makes learning more efficient, less of a chore.
No more mindless memorization. But we were also talking about some technical issues with the app. Did those problems affect how well it worked?
It's interesting, the complaints about those issues seemed to drop off in the later semesters.
So they were ironing out the kinks as they went along.
Sounds like it. Good reminder that even with these cool new tools, there's always room for improvement. Got to listen to that user feedback. Speaking of feedback, I'm curious about Best Banana English, that website we talked about. Did students mention any specific types of videos that they really liked?
Yeah, I'm imagining they weren't just watching cat videos all day, right?
Well, there were cat videos, I'm sure, but it seems the variety was a big draw. They mentioned everything from documentaries to TED Talks, music videos, even video game walkthroughs.
Wow, something for everyone, really tapping into those individual interests.
One student who was big into biology mentioned finding a whole series on cellular processes on Best Banana English. Said it was super helpful for their studies.
See, that's what I love about this. It's not about forcing everyone to learn the same things in the same way. It's about giving them the freedom to explore what excites them.
And when you're genuinely interested, the learning just happens naturally. But let's zoom out a bit. Did students talk about any broader benefits from the course beyond just language skills? Did it change how they approach learning in general?
Now, that's a thought-provoking question. We've been focusing on the language aspect, but I'm wondering if it had any ripple effects on their other studies or even their personal lives.
It's amazing how many students talked about positive changes in their study habits, even their mindsets. Many said they felt more disciplined, organized. Some even said they were able to apply those time management skills they learned to other parts of their lives.
Wow, talk about transferable skills. It's like they weren't just learning English, they were learning how to learn. Did any specific comments stand out to you about this?
There's this one from a student in semester 1111. They talked about how the course taught them the importance of consistency, self-discipline. They said having a daily assignment, even if it was small, helped them stay on track and manage their time better. Even said these skills were helpful for other subjects, even just life in general.
That's incredible. A testament to the power of a well-designed learning experience. It's not just about the content, it's about developing those lifelong habits, that growth mindset. But we've talked a lot about the positive side of things. Were there any students who expressed reservations about this approach? Any downsides they pointed out?
That's a great question, and we will be sure to dive into that right after a quick break.
All right, welcome back to the final part of our deep dive. We've been exploring this unconventional English course, the one with all the YouTube and apps.
A very different approach to language learning.
And we've heard a lot of good things, the engaging content, the focus on building good habits, even some unexpected benefits beyond just English skills. But were there any downsides? Did any students raise any red flags?
That's a good point. Not everything is sunshine and roses, right? Even though the feedback was overwhelmingly positive, a few recurring challenges did pop up.
Oh, like what?
One of the big ones was self-motivation. Some students found it hard to stay on track without that traditional classroom structure.
Yeah, I can see that. It's one thing to be motivated when you have to show up to class, but on your own. It takes discipline. Did they have any tips for overcoming that?
Some found that setting clear goals, making a study schedule, that kind of thing, helped them stay focused.
Ah, the classic planning approach. Never underestimate the power of a good to-do list.
Exactly. And others mentioned finding a study buddy, someone to keep them accountable, share tips with.
That's a great idea. Makes you realize even in a more independent setting, that sense of community can be really valuable. But were there any concerns about the content itself? Did they feel like they were missing out on anything by not using a textbook?
A few did mention wanting more direct grammar instruction. They felt like while they were getting fluent, expanding their vocabulary, they could have used a bit more of that structured grammar learning.
Interesting. It's like you can learn to play an instrument by ear, but understanding music theory can take you to another level, right?
That's a great analogy. And it seems the course designers were aware of this. They offered optional grammar workshops for students who wanted that extra support.
So they tried to find that balance between freedom and structure.
Hmm.
Makes sense. What about English Corner? We talked before about the mixed reactions to that, the optional speaking sessions. Anything in particular that stood out on the negative side?
Well, aside from the scheduling issues, a few students mentioned feeling a bit intimidated, speaking English in front of others.
Oh, yeah, I get that. It can be nerve-wracking putting yourself out there in a new language.
They wished there'd been more chances to practice in smaller groups or even one-on-one with a tutor, where the pressure might be less.
Makes sense. Everyone learns differently. What's comfortable for one person might be terrifying for another. But overall, it seems like the good outweighed the bad, right? Students consistently reported feeling more confident, more fluent, just more into learning English in general.
Exactly. And, it's inspiring to see a course that really challenges the traditional ways of doing things, gives students more control over their learning.
And empowers them, right, to be active participants, not just passive recipients. But as we wrap up this deep dive, what are your final thoughts? What really makes this course stand out, and what can we learn from it?
I think one of the biggest takeaways is the power of personalization, giving students more agency. It wasn't about forcing everyone into the same box. It was about creating a flexible structure that allowed them to tailor the learning to their own needs and passions.
Learning should be driven by curiosity, right? When you're genuinely interested, you're more likely to put in the effort to really absorb the information.
Couldn't agree more. And this course also shows how technology can be used to make learning more engaging, more personalized, more accessible. It's not about replacing teachers. It's about giving them more tools, more options.
Absolutely. It's about finding that sweet spot where technology enhances the human element, not replaces it.